Hey, sorry about that. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I'm gonna work then. I'll work for 10 minutes.
everybody. So we're so excited to be talking to you today about the college application process and what you can be doing right now to better prepare yourself for that when it comes around. And we're a group of students from Columbia University. And so I guess we can take a second to introduce ourselves. So hi, my name is Sarah. I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm a senior at Columbia and I study computer science, and I applied to Columbia through Questbridge.
Hey everybody, I'm Jenny and I'm from El Paso, Texas. And I'm a sophomore at Columbia studying computer science, and I did the Gates and Questbridge Scholarship, which we'll talk about later.
Hi everyone, my name is Mohammed. You could call me Mo. I am from Jersey City and I am from McNair Academic. I graduated back in 2013. I'm a junior at Columbia University studying computer science, and I am a Jack Kent Cook Scholar.
So to start off, we thought we would talk to you a little bit about programs that you can apply to visit colleges and get to know what it's like at different universities before you start applying. So to begin, there are these programs known as fly-ins, where universities will pay for you to go and visit the school for usually 2 to 3 days and tour for prospective students, typically from underrepresented backgrounds. So they'll cover the cost of food, transportation, and housing. And these usually take place the summer before your senior year. However, there are some that take place a little earlier or later. But yeah, the typical time frame is September to December. And I think on the next slide, we have a list. So we're going to send the slides out to you as well, but there's a list of programs of about 80 schools that participate in these fly-ins, ranging from schools like UPenn to Johns Hopkins. And they're just a really great opportunity to see what you're looking for in a university and get to experience, just like the different cultures of the universities. And I mean, it's a fun free trip too. So I would definitely recommend applying for those.
Yeah, so besides fly-ins, other early programs are summer programs. So these summer programs usually will let you go to the university, but whether or not they're paid kind of depends on the program themselves, like whether they're targeted specifically towards low income, things like that. So you'd have to look into that when you apply, but here kind of a general overview for some. So they're like MIT, which focuses more on STEM and looking into engineering and things like that. There's leadership programs. And then there's also just general college classes you can take that give you credit, but you should keep in mind that usually these cost money because you are basically taking college classes. So just be aware that when you're applying to summer programs, what you'll need to submit and also whether or not they'll cost you anything, but they are a good opportunity for you to develop skills, and they're also a good thing to put when you're applying. So you should keep that in mind. So now we're going to talk about scholarships. So free money, we love that. So we'll talk about scholarships overall first. So there's some just general kind of big name ones, I guess. So the Coca-Cola scholarship's a really big name one. There's also local scholarships, which I highly encourage you guys to look into because these are you have less competition, right? Because you're not competing with everybody across the nation. So you should definitely look into the district ones that you're, the ones that your school district offers, high school ones as well. So talk to counselors, and they should often have a list of scholarships that you can apply to that are local, and then just in general city ones. So make sure to look into those. And then if you're a member of a bigger organization, so some School Leaders of America, Business Professionals of America FIRST, which does robotics competitions, you should also check to see if they offer any scholarships. So usually these scholarships, they ask you to kind of talk about your experience being in this organization, and they're a good way for you to kind of get free money and also have good participation, I guess, in these type of organizations. Besides general ones, there's also ones that target specifically towards low income, such as Questbridge, Gates, Elks, Jack and Cook. And we'll talk about 3 of these in more detail. And then there's also ones that are just more about your identity and also your interests. So Ron Brown Scholarship is specifically for African-American students. Regeneron is targeted towards students who do research. That's more an interest type of thing. And then Palantir Women Technology Scholarship, for example, is one that does gender plus interest. So just keep in mind there are scholarships all around for all these type of different interests and identities. So just be on the lookout for those type of things. And then there's also industry ones. So Amazon offers one, and just in general, you should see if your parents offer, if the company your parents work at offers a certain type of scholarship. There are many that do that, so just double check on that.
And like Jenny mentioned, there are thousands of smaller scholarships related to anyone. They can range from a couple of 100 to a couple of thousands, even a full ride. Any little bit help. So be sure to look around your community, especially like your maybe religious areas or even based on your interests. I know even that there's a scholarship for left-handed people. It's a small amount, but again, every little bit helps. But staying away from the small scholarships, we're gonna talk a little bit about the bigger scholarships, the one that we applied to and got accepted for.
So I'll kick it off with Questbridge. Questbridge is a college match program for low-income, high-achieving students, and they function on a ranking system. So first you'll apply to be a Questbridge Scholar, and then once you're accepted, you will rank a list of schools that participate in the program. And if you get into any of them through the Questbridge program, you will receive a full year, 4-year scholarship program to the college. So that's definitely a really great opportunity. And the application opens for that in the late summer before your senior year, and it's due in late September. So that's just something to start thinking about pretty early in the process, just because that deadline is so much earlier than the typical college application process. And more for you all, there's also summer program scholarships for before your senior year. So those are called college prep programs. So if you look up Questbridge College Prep Scholars, you'll find a lot of information about that. But basically those are programs where you can spend as much as a month at a college campus doing various things from college prep to more like hands-on learning in a field. So definitely look into that. It's a great way to spend your summer.
Yeah, so next I'll talk about the GATE scholarship. So it's a last dollar scholarship. So that's kind of different from most scholarships, I guess. And then it's for outstanding minority seniors from low-income households. So just to give you some insight into what last dollar scholarship is, it just basically means that any costs you don't already have from like other scholarships or other financial aid like covered, if you don't have any of those costs covered, then GATES will pay for it essentially. So yeah, and this is just a good way to kind of guarantee. So like maybe if you didn't get any other scholarships, it's kind of like a full ride, but otherwise it's like a good like fallback type of thing. So yeah, and it covers the entirety of your undergraduate studies, so up to 5 years. And then it has kind of a different process that consists of like multiple phases, kind of like Westbridge does. And it's like the timeline I included down here. It kind of varies in terms of like specific dates, maybe depending on your year. But in general, like these are the months that you'll have these type of things. So yeah, definitely good to look into.
And there's also the Jack Kent Cook Scholarship. I believe it's up to 40,000 per student per year. So it's a scholarship available for transfer students, whether from private, state, or community college. People who are eligible are those who are admitting into a college during the fall. They have to have a decent GPA above 3.5. They need to demonstrate low income. The median family last year was 35,000. And the test policy, sometimes you may need to submit an ACT or SAT policy, but for this year, you don't. But in the future, it's good to check because they always flex, even even certain errors during outside of the COVID era is what I was trying to say. One thing that they really look for this scholarship is for volunteer work within a community. So make sure to boost your resume by volunteering around Jersey City. I know that our city has lots and lots of opportunities out there.
So next we'll be talking to you guys about standardized testing, which I'm sure is like a cause of great anxiety for a lot of you. So we're hoping to kind of just like break it down and like maybe provide some useful tips. So we'll start by talking about the ACT versus the SAT. So first of all, this is kind of really a matter of personal preference. Like colleges accept either of these. So it really doesn't like matter too much which one you choose. You should keep in mind though that like how they score these tests kind of. So SAT allows for super scoring. So it's like you combine your best scores. So let's say you did like really good on like the math section during one take and then really good on the reading section on a different take. So some colleges will like combine these scores and give you like an overall higher score, which is really good. And then on a similar vein, ACT allows for per section retakes. So this is kind of like their version of super score basically. And then they round up. That's pretty important, I guess, you know, like you get 30.5, so like a 30, and you can get like a 31 instead. So then that gives you like an extra point boost. So, and then you should also keep in mind whether or not you have to submit like all these tests that you take. So let's say you take like, I don't know, 3 like SATs, right? So then maybe some colleges will require you to submit every single take that you did instead of just your super score. So you should keep this in mind for kind of like your strategy for whether or not you want to take these tests multiple times or not. And like keeping in mind like your top choice colleges, whether or not they require you to do these can kind of like influence, I guess, like how you're going to do your test taking strategy, like whether or not you're going to grind super hard the first time to get it, nail it in one try, or if you're going to like, I don't know, try and like kind of familiarize yourself with it, like taking it like first time, just kind of see, and then, you know, like nailing it on the second try, stuff like that. So you should definitely look into these like test policies just to be sure. And then on the right, we have an infographic about like the SAT versus ACT, just kind of like a brief overview of it. So generally the ACT offers less time per question, so it's like a faster paced test. But because of that, the questions don't usually go as in depth as compared to the SAT. So you should just kind of keep that in mind, playing off your strengths. So let's say if you're like a really fast taker, maybe you'll find that the ACT is like easier for you. Whereas if you're not and you prefer having more time to think about your questions, maybe the SAT will be best for you. So I just recommend that to determine like which one's better for you, take one practice test of each and just see like which one feels more comfortable.
And so in terms of the actual preparation for the test, I work as an ACT tutor as kind of a side gig. So I have a little bit of insight into some good ways to prepare for that. And my general advice for you would be to just take that test as many times as you can before you go in for the real thing. So when you get these slides, this link in here under ACT, I think it has about 80 ACT tests on it. And I would just recommend you take as many as you can. And when you miss question, go back and check to see the questions you missed. And when you miss a question, redo it 3 times and make sure you really understand the reason that you missed it. So because all of the questions follow a very similar format, so understanding why you missed one will help you to not miss that same question on another test. And I would say that generally applies to both ACT and SAT. So we also have some resources for SAT on the slide. And you can use Khan Academy as well for content review for both of these tests. And additionally, one other thing you can do, many different places in the area offer free classes online. I don't know if your school has them, but different places around will offer that. So check out for that. And also don't be afraid to just ask your guidance counselor for resources. I'm sure they'd be happy to help you with that. And last thing, if you qualify, ask for a fee waiver so that you don't have to pay to take the ACT or SAT. I believe you should get 2 of those at least. So that's definitely a good way to make sure that you aren't stopped from taking the test as many times as you need to succeed.
All right, so next we'll briefly talk about subject tests. So basically, you should also just keep in mind whether or not your college needs it, because you don't want to spend the time and effort and money like studying and taking the test if you don't actually need a subject test. But if you do need to take a subject test, it's good to take it when you take the class on like the subject you're taking. So it's because it's kind of like a mini AP test in a sense. It contains a lot of like the content that you get asked in like AP classes. So let's say if you're going to take the chemistry subject test, then you should probably take it when you take AP Chem or General Chem, something like that. So then like you don't have to like restudy like all the material. So just to keep that in mind. And then also you should look into test dates and locations so you can plan accordingly. And as a heads up, you can usually take 3 like subjects within like 1 sitting of like a test date. So you can plan for that. And then besides the subject test, there's also the PSAT. So this is like a nationwide like mini SAT, like it's straight up a mini SAT. So in your sophomore year, you can, if you do take it, you should take it kind of like a practice run. And then in your junior year, you should take it more like seriously, because the PSAT is like a measure for like qualifying you for a national merit scholarship. So there's like cutoff PSAT scores basically according to like which state you're in. And generally the ones for like the East Coast are pretty high actually. So you should keep that kind of in mind. So once you do good, basically in this like graphic to the right, basically all the way up to the semifinalist phase, like all you need to do is like do good on your PSAT basically. So it's a good way to get you another scholarship. And there are just 3 types of scholarships you can get. So it's like one through like the actual corporation, National Merit Corporation. One's from the school, And then also from the company, like if your parents' company like also handles national merit scholars, then you can also get money from the company. So it's just like a good way overall to like be a prep for your SAT and also give you some free money. So kind of take them pretty seriously, I guess.
Right. And we should also briefly touch on AP tests. I know that McNair offers loads of AP classes. I believe when I spoke with your principal, you guys are offering 26 now, and they're there for you for a good reason. So it's important to know how to take advantage of them. There are usually huge curves. Typically, if you get a 75 or 80, you get a 5, which is the highest you can score on them. Colleges typically give credit for 3, 4, 5 scores. That depends on the college. It's good to check every individual college's AP score policy because some colleges accept less credits than others. For example, Columbia might only accept 2 to 6 credits, while St. Peter's will accept up to 21. Nevertheless, it does buff up your application. Even if you took multiple AP classes and did not get the credit for. There are tons of AP subjects, for example, chemistry, biology, literature, economics, all that. Something that you should know is you do not have to take the class to take the test. If you go to your guidance counselor and tell them at the end of the year, I want to take the AP chemistry test, even though you didn't take AP chemistry. That's all up to you. If you believe you could handle it, go for it. The easiest AP courses are usually statistics and psychology. The hardest are physics, C, and chemistry. If Jenny can go to the next slide real quick, there's sort of like a chart that you can see. Yep. What's more time consuming? What's tougher? Fun fact on the physics C exam, if you score a 50. You will get a 5 on the AP score. It is also possible to do calculus AB and BC in 1 year. It's all up to you again. But it's good to know that don't go AP crazy. More AP tests is not necessarily better versus extracurricular activities, especially if you know that the university will end up only accepting like 2 credits. So again, it's up to you.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about the process of college applications and how that timeline should really look. I know that when I was going to apply to college, that was something I struggled with because I didn't know when I should be thinking about all of these things and at what point I needed to start. So here's kind of a general layout. So you guys already passed your freshman year, but at that point you should just be getting involved with extracurricular activities that you care about and taking classes that you find interesting as well. So during your sophomore year, you'll take the PSAT, and also you'll start taking AP classes. And just one thing to say about that is that it might not seem like the courses you're taking will have relevance, but I promise you that it will come up later in life. So for instance, right now, I have to take a prereq quiz to get into one of the classes that I'm taking. And I'm having to go back through and review some of the math that I did senior year of high school. So it's definitely important to pay attention and really understand the content in those classes because it will come up in university. But yeah, so during sophomore year, you should just be getting involved in things that you enjoy and taking classes that challenge you. So really just challenging yourself. And so then by the time early junior year comes around, you should be thinking about things like taking the national merit PSAT. You should be studying for the ACT and SAT and maybe taking it for the first time. As well as applying for those summer programs that we spoke about before, dealing with leadership or STEM. And by the time you're in your late junior year or the summer before senior year, you should be wrapping up the ACT or SAT, participating in those summer programs we talked about before if you're able. Also visiting colleges if you're able. We'll see how COVID plays out with that, but applying for fly-ins and just making a list of potential schools that you're thinking about going to is helpful to start early so that you're not scrambling at the last minute to figure out where you even want to apply. And then I would say in late summer, it could be good to start thinking about your Common App essay. So those prompts are generally the same from year to year, or at least the themes are the same. So thinking about a topic that you'd like to write about that you feel like really will show the admissions committee who you are. And then senior year, obviously, you're finalizing your list of schools, submitting your Common App, and applying for scholarships.
So for those of you who don't know what the Common App is, the Common Application is a general online application for college, for up to 900 colleges in the country. And I believe even there's some that's outside of the country. I'm not entirely sure about that, but it consists of two parts, the general application and the specific school application. The general application includes a personal essay, recommendation letters, extracurricular activities list, and on the school application, there's some supplemental questions that the school specifically is asking for. And even they might ask for your high school transcript. I believe, no, actually they all ask for a high school transcript. I'm thinking of it as from a transfer point of view, but definitely in high school, they will be asking for your high school transcript. There's another application called the Universal app, which is made to kind of compete with the Common App. There are some schools that accept it, but if you have the preference, the schools accepts both, it's better to go with the Common App just because it's easier and because more schools accept it worldwide. There are also some schools who do an individual college application. I believe MIT does that still. Those who offer their own application also offer common application. So again, if you had to choose, always go with the common application because it's less workload for you. And there's a new type of application that's geared towards those who are interested in arts. It's called the Coalition Access, Affordability, and Success application. It's basically you create a portfolio throughout your throughout your high school career that gets sent to your college that you're applying for. There are 90 institutions right now that accept the Coalition application. So yeah, how would you choose the right application for you? Again, it's all based on preference and it's all based on what's easier for you. But overall, if you had to choose, common application is the best way to go.
And in terms of the Common App, I've also helped a few students with their essays. And I think you really need to put effort into your main essay to make it authentic, original, and anecdotal. It's kind of my thing. So you don't want someone to be writing it for you. A college admissions officer will know if someone wrote your essay for you. It's always very evident. So you just want it to really be clear. You want to express who you are as a person, why you're like interested in going to college maybe, or just a little bit about your past to make you kind of humanized when they read your application. And then in terms of the supplemental questions, you definitely want to make sure that you're showing interest in the school. So don't use the same template for every university. Make sure that you look up specific things that the university has to offer you. So even if you don't necessarily know what you want to major in, looking at things like professors at the university that you'd be interested in taking a class from, or things in the area that benefit you as a student are great to mention in your supplemental essays. And additionally, you can look for programs in your area that will review your application for free. So that's what I took part in. And additionally, you can apply for fee waivers for the Common App as well if you're eligible. I think you can talk to administrators at your school about that to clarify how that process works, but definitely be on the lookout for that. And then additionally, recommendation letters are something that you'll probably be having to ask for the first time in this process. So that was really nerve-wracking for me, but your teachers will be more than happy to do it, especially if you ask early and ask kindly. So I know for my grad school applications, I tried to ask at least 6 weeks before, but if you're able to ask, the earlier the better is really just the way to go. And you want to try to form a relationship with your teachers ahead of time. So you want to have a professor or a teacher who can really talk about who you are, what's going to make you succeed in university, who can speak like well of you, not just a grade you got in a class. And additionally, providing your teacher with information about you and the schools you're applying and maybe what you're interested in studying if you have that under control is really helpful for them in writing those letters. So yeah, the more information and the earlier you provide them with that information, the better for asking for a letter. And also just reminding them as the deadline approaches infrequently can be helpful for them as well.
All right, so now we're gonna talk about extracurriculars. So these are pretty important to your like application. So both extracurriculars and volunteer work. And there's a lot of variety to choose from. So there's like all the bowls, right? Science bowl, quiz bowl, so on and so forth. There's also all the Olympiads, right? So science, math, so on and so forth. And then there's also like debate, mock trial, Motto UN, NHS, and sports. So just remember that these are important because like Sarah said, they're like a way for you to kind of like show your interests. And when you write your essays, they're really like a good place to draw from for like examples of like, oh, when you did leadership, examples of when you solved a difficult problem, examples of when you worked in a team, these type of like soft skills that colleges like care about. You can like show like how you develop these kind of through your extracurriculars. So they should be like things that you keep in mind. And then they're just also a good way to kind of like learn more about like the things you're interested in, see like what you do like, what you don't like, you know, so that way you can kind of like figure out like along kind of where you want to lean. And then just here's some general advice about like applying. So take all these like College Confidential, Rate Me, Reddit, etc. Take all these things with a grain of salt. Like don't let people on the internet tell you whether or not you can or get in. Like they're not the admissions officers. So yeah, like sure, there's like all these stats, but at the end of the day, like they're not the ones who are letting you into university. So yeah. And then you should also take all your classes seriously. And like Sarah said, you want to be able to form like relationships with your teachers. So that way you can ask for like better rec letters because you want your teachers to be able to write rec letters about you that aren't just kind of like a copy paste of like, I don't know, your resume or something, but more like humanizing, kind of like Sarah said. And then just pursue what you're passionate about, not what you think colleges want to see. Nobody actually knows still if it's like, oh, is it better to be like a spike in like one like area? Is it better to like kind of be like jack of all trades, spread out? Like nobody actually completely knows like what's like, I don't know, the admissions office criteria. So just kind of do what you want to do because that way you'll be able to like better write about like your experiences, better write about like your interests. And that's kind of like important for like your essays, like for crafting a strong essay. And then, like I said before, you want to do leadership positions because colleges do care about leadership because there's like a whole like abundance of soft skills that come with like being a leader. So yeah, you want to look into doing leadership positions within extracurriculars. And then just as like a general thing, kind of, you don't have to know exactly like what major you want to be at, but like maybe consider like whether or not you're gonna take a more like liberal arts versus like STEM path, right? Because that kind of like influences like what colleges you'll apply to. Certain colleges are more historically strong in STEM, whereas some are like better at liberal arts. So that kind of like influences like what colleges you might want to go to and like what resources. And then also it kind of influences, I guess, like the type of extracurriculars you want to put like your like focus in. So that way, like it shows off for like a better like STEM application or like a better like liberal arts application. So just keep that in mind, kind of, and that can be helpful. But just remember, it's not like set in stone. You still can change your major. So next, we'll talk a little bit about university experiences. So Bill will kick it off with public versus private.
All right. So public versus private. Public schools are usually the state colleges. Our public school is called Rutgers University. If you go to Pennsylvania, it's Penn State, and others just add the word state at the end of it. So what is the main difference between public schools and private schools? And the first main difference is the cost. Public schools are a lot more cheaper. You get more financial aid from the government for attending a public school. Private schools, you do get scholarships from the school itself, and you are offered lots of other scholarships that you can apply to. But generally, private schools are a couple of thousands or maybe even 10,000 more dollars more expensive than public schools. It's important to know if you want to take the loan route and have that stress for you in the future, or if you like you could pay it off or not. That's entirely up to you. Another difference is the academics, but it isn't really a very big difference. Rutgers University has a great academic history. They're one of the biggest schools in the entire nation. And but they do not offer the smaller classrooms type of education that you might be looking for. Private schools generally have smaller classrooms, and yeah, that's about it. If anyone else has anything to add on the public versus private, I can move on. All right. So there's also another route that you could take, and this is the route that I originally took. After I graduated McNair, I noticed that I was not ready to attend a four-year university, both financially and academically. So what I did is I went to Alta County Community College for a couple of years. There's a lot of pros and cons to doing this route. The biggest pro is, of course, the cost of tuition, the flexible schedule if you need to work while saving money. It gives students an opportunity to explore majors. So if you are not decided on what you want to do with your life yet, you can go through that route. You could also do that at public schools, but it's a little bit, it's more expensive, which might be more scary. Especially if you do a year of, let's say you wanted to be a doctor and do a year of biology and realize that biology is not for you, you can always, you have to change your major, and that takes some time, and you might have lost out a little bit of classes. Community colleges also have smaller classrooms, and they do have qualified professors. They're usually people who are interested in teaching, and that's how they kick off their teaching career, graduate school graduates. And they're also very good for transitioning. Some cons are limited curriculum. Of course, you're not going to learn as much as you learn from a four-year institution. There's also a lighter workload. Sometimes you find uninvolved students, so you have to go out there and create your own network from the outside world rather from inside your college. And there is a lack of campus life, of course. If you want to go to a school where you're surrounded by people with your special interests, then I don't think community college is right for you. Yeah. And that's all.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I think we have a little bit of extra time now. So if anyone has any questions, if they want to type them in the chat, we'll stick around for a couple minutes and answer. Okay, so I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, so I guess we can just end it, and we'll make sure that you all get this PowerPoint. And thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Well, the sophomores are a lot less engaging than the juniors.
I guess it's less.
Right.